Hello, everybody. How are you? I am, going to take a deep breath. I don't know if you have this happen to you. It happens to me all the time. I go to speak, and then all of my thoughts flood into my mouth at the same time. And then I get tongue tied because I'm getting all the downloads. And additionally, I communicate a lot telepathically. I imagine you do as well. And so there's multiple conversations, right, happening in my head and in my mouth, so to speak. And then I go live, for example, or go on a podcast, and it all comes rushing in at once. So let me know in the chat if that happens to you. All right. So if you are new to this wild and wacky world of mine, I am Jennifer Longmore, founder of the #1 Akashic Record Training School in the world. And I love to elevate all things consciousness. I love to talk about wealth consciousness and business consciousness and ascension and, accessing consciousness, meaning through the Akashic records and so on, body consciousness, relationship consciousness, all of the consciousnesses. And so today we're going to chat about money as we normally do in business. I realize, and I'd love to hear again in the chat what your things are. For me, I would say my gift is channeling, right? I just have been channeling since a very young age, but my art is in creating businesses. So I really love to look at business models. I can see what the business model needs. I can see where the micro leaks are, that if we just plug them, will allow a lot more money to stay in the container. And I love seeing all the untapped pots of gold. That's actually more of my favorite thing to look at. How do we optimize an already amazing expert and or business or whatever? What do things need to be priced at? How do we market this? Like, isn't this fun? So building business for myself and for others is a lot of fun. And I love helping people make money. I love showing people the tactical ways to make money that feel aligned, but also looking at the not just money mindset shifts, but actual paradigm shifts, right? There's certain paradigms that we hold that those are the kind of things that zing us. Those are the things that make us a little bit cross-eyed when we have that shift, right? It's one thing to have an aha. I think mindset work kind of gives you the aha, but the paradigm shifts are the things that are total game changers. These are the things that create quantum leaps. So that's what I want to share with you today. As far as helping you double your income, I promise you that if you make these 3 mindset shifts, you will double your income. And then, of course, the speed in which you do will really be dependent upon how comfortable you are in navigating speed. I make things happen quickly. I was telling my client just a moment ago that when I bought the podcast connector, it was a very quick decision on my part. I'm a generator. I make things happen really quickly. I make decisions very quickly. And at the beginning of the day, I didn't know I was buying a company. And then at some point, it was presented to me. And then at the end of the day, I said, oh, by the way, I bought a company today. His whole face was like, what in the world? He's a much more methodical decision maker and really likes to do his research. And, when he buys a car, for example, he loves researching it for like a year to figure out, do I want this one? And I'm like, let's go get a car this weekend, right? I'm very, very quick. So point being is that there's certain paradigms that really allow us to move energy quickly, which then allows us to scale. And again, coming back to this as an aside, this will be something you want to tune into for yourself, is how comfortable am I with speed? Do I feel safe and secure with speed? What are the stories I've been told around speed? What have been my past experiences around speed, and were they positive or so-called negative? And what can I shift around that? Because on the other side of business, like quantum leaping in business, I should say, is our capacity to engage in speed and have speed be fun and have it be a good thing, and to not get caught up in the linearity of how things should look, or taking one rung of the ladder at a time, actually giving ourselves permission to leap and to skip a few steps as we're running up the stairs and things like that. So these are paradigm shifts I'm going to share with you, and you'll receive them, obviously to the degree that they resonate with you. These are actually quite profound. So if you can allow yourself to really let it sink in deeply, you will get cross-eyed. You'll have a massive, massive aha. This will totally change your life. So the first thing that you really need to decide. The first massive mindset shift you need to decide in order to double your income in your business is to shift from, I'm the technician in my company. I'm marketing constantly to fill my pipeline that I provide service in, to, I am the CEO of an agency, of a transformational company, of a coaching company, of a branding company, of a done for you, whatever it is, right? So instead of, you might still be the technician in your company, there's nothing wrong with that, but when we're the technician, we're just always focused on client attraction. How much do I need to market this month to get clients? It's always in a get client energy. And getting clients, it just doesn't feel good, right? If someone said to you right now, I'm going to get you as my client, you would contract so quickly, right? Because it feels gross. I don't want, and for me, I don't want to be getted, gotcha'd, pursued, pounced on. Like, I don't want any of that energy. I want you to show me why you're the most obvious option for me. I want you to show me how you're going to solve my problem. And then I'm going to come to you because you've done such a good job at either selling me on you as the best person to help me with that, or on your offer, right? I buy from complete strangers if they really get me and they speak directly to me, right? So the only reason we're getting clients is because we, and again, I'm meaning that in the pursuing way, is because we don't really know our niches. We don't really know who we're speaking to. We don't really have a clear message. We're contracted around our messaging. We're too jargony, right? We see this a lot in the spiritual community. Everyone wants to talk about light code, blah, 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 quantum, blah, blah, all of the run-on sentences. No, even the most awake person and the most spiritually in tune person just wants you to say, hey, I'm going to help you to release weight. Hey, I'm going to help you make more money. Hey, I'm going to help you, buy groceries. Like, we need the complication. The only reason we would need to complicate all of that messaging is because we're either trying to prove that we know what we're talking about, or because we're trying to join the clique and speak the same language so we look like we belong, or because we actually only know what we're talking about. It's not wisdom, it's just knowledge. And so we're overcompensating by making it sound like we know what we're talking about. If we're only offering what we're mastering, then there's a level of embodiment, right, that communicates energetically. People can pick up on that stuff. Point is that there's certain things, of course, to attracting clients that we want to focus on. But when we're the technician, our focus is always on, I've got to get more clients this month. I've got to get more clients. And then, of course, we feel misaligned because we don't like that pouncing, pursuing energy, like preying on an animal out in nature, right? And it's a lot easier to make growth decisions, to make decisions that expand and exponentialize the income of the company when it's the company, when you're running a coaching company, when you're running a training school, when you're running an agency, not my agency, not my company, an agency, the company, a company, things like that. That way too, when it's not personal, then it's not personal. You can make decisions from a place of neutrality. You can make decisions. In my company, I can look at it and go, yeah, I'm not surprised that person's frustrated with us. I would be too. The company needs to do A, B, and C so people don't have this experience, right? But if I'm a technician in the company, I'm going to be like, they attacked me. They made me sad. They made me feel badly about myself, right? And I'm going to make it personal. And I can only grow to the degree that things aren't personal, because when it's personal, then I'm going to be worried about, well, do people like how I speak? Do people like my the way I dress? Do people like the aesthetics on my sales page? I'm gonna make it way more personal than it needs to be, and then I'm going to contract, because if I'm unconsciously triggered by criticism or judgment, or not being chosen, or always being the last, or being invisible, or any of that stuff, it's going to keep compounding on me. It's going to make me kind of get energetically buried under all of that stuff. It's not that stuff doesn't need to be dealt with, but if we're building a business to be an asset that helps us to create wealth, it has to be treated like that. It's an asset. We're growing it. It's a thing outside of us that, yes, we can be a contribution to it, and we can also allow it to be a contribution to us. But then we get out of this, this person said this to me and I'm wounded now, so now I'm going to have to contract and I can't grow because what if I put myself out there again and someone wounds me again? Well, as a CEO of our company, we know there's always going to be triggers. We know there's always going to be someone that's unhappy with us or our company. But we move beyond it because we know that there are literally thousands and thousands of people that are going to journey through our company at any given year. And so one or two people critiquing you it shouldn't stop you. In fact, I would say, why would you be allowing that? Why are you allowing one or two people that are irritated with you, whether they're justified or not, to literally slow your growth because you're afraid that someone might hurt your feelings, right? It's not about feelings. It's about you've decided to create a container to go and be of service to people. So let's make it about that and stop making it about you. So when we make it completely impersonal, meaning, yes, it's a personal service, and yes, you want to love up your clients, and you're still the CEO of the company before you're the technician in the company. It will be a total game changer in how you make decisions, how you view the growth of the company, and how willing you are to let the company grow. The second money paradigm shift that needs to happen, and this is potentially going to trigger you, and I'm okay with that because this is of service to you, is to disavow any pledges of allegiance or any vows that you've made to be aligned with the poverty consciousness in your community. So, for example, there's a very small percentage of yogis that are abundant and prosperous because the yogic community in general really encourages martyrdom, sacrifice, selfless service, don't be an asshole and charge money for your services kind of a vibe. The broke art or the starving artist community, right? So if you have any kind of creative energy, if you're a branding expert, a copywriter, an author, anything in the realm of creating, right? Creating art, creating literature, creating whatever, creating a blog, anything like that. If you have any conscious or unconscious allegiance to the starving artist community, then you're always going to have to choose your loyalty. You'll be straddling your loyalty between, well, I want to make more money and I want to actually be over here where the abundant artists are, but I still have this conscious or unconscious allegiance to the starving artists. In the healer community, which is where I came from, I started there, right? It was kind of a noble thing. It was uncomfortable to be successful. And I had a successful healing practice right out of the gate. So I had to really downplay it. And I did all kinds of outer things to draw attention away from how much money I was making. I drove a shitty car. I really was understated in how I dressed. I did the typical wear, amethyst bracelet and little Om symbols on my, little necklace or mandala things or whatever. And really understated my home and stuff like that, because when people came into it at the time, I was doing in-person things. I didn't want them to look around and go, wow, well, look at her. She's all about the money. She's actually not about service. And the truth was, I didn't even know how much money I was making. I wasn't even paying attention to that. I actually was creating everything from a place of service. The thing was, though, there were people that couldn't work with me because I wasn't charging enough. And then there were people that even when I was charging very little or even free, it was too much for some reason, right? Whatever their reason was. And I really had to get the fact that people are going to create stories and make it about me and replace me with anyone else. And as long as I'm abdicating, right? As long as I'm deflecting, as long as I'm diverting and making it about something outside of me as that potential client, then I don't actually have to do the work. So if I make it about the healer being too greedy or too something or not enough of something, right? Not humble enough, not poverty stricken enough or whatever, then we can be accepted. So at some point along that journey, and this is why I'm sharing this with you, because this is actually an identity shift that you need to make. as long as you are pledging allegiance on some level of your consciousness to a broke healer community and contracting yourself and wondering, am I going to be banished from the tribe? What if I make more money? Am I really a member of this new tribe, which is the abundant healer community, as an example? I don't really belong in this one, but I don't really belong in this one. And you might be feeling like you're in limbo. But you have to choose, because as soon as you decide where your allegiance is going to go, and I don't mean you should be like pledging loyalty or allegiance to any of them, but we can over-identify with a community, right? So as long as we decide that we need to figure out how to be a member of a certain community, so in this case, the healer community, we really have two tracks, right? We have the track that takes great pride in being poor and really energizing that, and being quite judgy towards people that make more money. And then, of course, in the abundant healer side of things, there's going to be issues there as well, of course, right? But all things being equal, if you have to choose a community to be a part of, which one is of greater service to you, to align with the broke healers or with the abundant healers, as an example? Yeah, Sarah, I hear you. It's, it's really just a decision at this point. And I'm not saying that because you haven't made a decision, but more just for me at some point. And I can't really tell you when that was, but I do know that I had to be willing to release attachment to what people thought of me. And that is also tied in with that shift from being the technician to the CEO. When you're the CEO of the company, you already recognize that there's going to be 5 people a year that think you're the biggest a-hole in the world, no matter what you do, right? And that your loyalty to your business actually overrides everything. That we have to be in the willingness to be absolutely detested, and the willingness to have people be absolutely disgusted by who we be in the world and how we run our company and how we price things. And the other side of this, which is to be gurusized without even asking for it, to be put on a pedestal that you can only fall off of, and they will make sure once they put you on it, that you're going to fall. The love bombing, the stalking, all the weird shit that will happen on both sides of the spectrum. Of course, most people are fantastic, right? We have like 1% on either side that act like that. But that 1% on either side is getting all of our attention, right? We're either contracting because we don't want to be revered in the spotlight, or we're contracting because we don't want one person out of every 10,000 people that move through our business to be absolutely disgusted with us and tell everyone, oh, that Jennifer's so disgusting. She's all about the money, right? So it really ultimately comes down to making a decision, because decision energy is an activator. It aligns everything to support the decision that we're making. Yeah, discount if you're not getting enough clients. Well, there's a lot. I mean, that's a whole other topic. But when we're not getting the volume of clients that we want, there's quite a few things. I do think in the Purpose, it's not called the Purpose Posse anymore, the Quantum Leap Collective, the free Facebook group that I run. For those of you that are watching elsewhere, I'm pretty sure I've done a checklist on, if you're not attracting clients, some things to look at, because the same is true for me, right? I have to kind of go through, okay, is this in place? Is this in place? But I have clients coming to me all the time without me even marketing, because people are watching us all the time. I really think everything starts with positioning, right? Are you positioned in such a way that people are already sold on you? So you don't have to do any selling. They're already sold on you. They can't wait to work with you. They know that you're the person to help them. So if we're not making our positioning a priority, which then speeds up the know, like, and trust factor, and that's who people buy from, is those who they know, like, and trust. And that can be established in a nanosecond, and that can take 10 years. It's really up to us. So that would be where I would start, because leaders are not buying from people that are contracted, right? Leaders are buying from those who are really, really emanating a leadership energy. I'm not saying you're not. What I'm saying is that I'm not shopping for price. I'm shopping for, who do I feel can actually hold the energy that's required for me to have the transformation, because it's not about the practitioner. It's about me and what I need, and what I need to pay to show up for myself. And the caliber of leadership that someone like me is going to require for me to want to pause my own leadership, so to speak, right? And allow someone else to lead me or co-lead with me, right? On whatever phase of my journey I'm working on. If we want to attract price shoppers and so on, then we do the typical healer thing, which is have 75 different modalities on a business card, so nobody knows what we specialize in, what we're an expert in, and where to even start, because we keep pouring too much into them. Again, not saying you're doing that, but we want to shift away from being the person who has ionic foot cleanse, reflexology, theta healer, Reiki master, and all, that whole list of things that people put on their business cards. It actually decreases credibility, because someone like me is going to be like, okay, but what do you specialize in? What can you do for me? I don't want to know what you do. I want to know what you can do for me. And that list of services tells me nothing other than it tells me that person is well, they're a technician in their company, and I work with CEOs, right? So a lot of it's a positioning thing. And that's, like I said, a conversation for another day. When you're providing real value, it doesn't matter what the investment is. If you think about someone coming into one of my masterminds, for example, if I say, okay, our mastermind is going to be 6 months, and by the end of 6 months, you will have added 100K to your bottom line. Let's just assume that that's the promise. And let's say that happens for someone in their first month of the mastermind. That's what they wanted. Right? They don't need to. I mean, they can stay for 6 months, of course, but a lot of people get tied up in that. Well, I want my 6 months. Well, you're getting your 6 months, but how great is it that you invested in the result? You didn't invest it in the time and being able to eat all the peas on your plate. So yay, instead of waiting 6 months to make 100K, you made it in the first month. Awesome. Yay. This is what we want, right? We want to collapse time and space. So savvy CEOs, not technicians, but savvy CEOs know that they're investing in value and they're investing in results. They're actually far less interested in getting time for the sake of time. They don't want to be overwhelmed with 85 bonuses in a program. We can actually put too much in something. They don't have time. And one of the things that my human design coach, for those of you that know, I work with Kendra Woods, and I highly, highly recommend Kendra. And I know I talk about her a lot. So we were actually chatting yesterday about my design, and she pointed out to me that my relationship with time is pretty impeccable. And I know how to spend my time. And I realized, my whole life, it's actually in my chart, right? My whole life, I filter everything through. Do I want to put my time here? Is this worth my time? Is this friendship worth building, right? From a time perspective, not because there's anything wrong with the person, but because I'm just such a steward of time for whatever reason, right? I'm just wired for that. So as a purchaser, right, of services, I don't need a lot of time. In fact, I don't want to be on calls. Right now, I'm working with someone that I hired to do my Oracle deck, and she keeps wanting to hop on a call. I'm like, no, I don't have time for that. Really don't have time for that. I only have so much bandwidth in the day. I'm happy to box her back and forth. You're the one that needs the phone call. I don't need the phone call. Anything that we need to discuss, really, we don't need to leave an hour to discuss this, because we will fill an hour. If we leave 15 minutes, we'll get it covered in 15 minutes, because time expands, right? If we decide it's going to take 60 minutes for us to cover an agenda, it will. If we decide it's going to take 5 minutes, it will, right? So of course, there's a time and a place for us to have phone calls, but anyone that's in a leadership energy knows what the value of their time is. And even there's a lot of clients I have that would much prefer, they appreciate having one-to-one calls with me, but they really appreciate having Voxer coaching. And in fact, will often just invest in a Voxer coaching package with me, because it's also stressful for them to try and find a mutual time, especially if we're dealing with different time zones and so on, right? They just have a good question, and they know that we're always going to get to the heart of the matter. We don't need to wrap it in 45 minutes of fluff, essentially, right? And mind banter and playing, mind ping pong and let's solve the puzzle. We just get to the heart of the matter and get it done. But again, this is something that we build into, right? And understanding that that's a value. So I can still charge a lot for that, because it's the value of my time. It's also the value of my wisdom that I've invested millions of dollars in, right? What is that worth to people? That's, by the way, something that you want to look at for your pricing and stuff, right? Like, what is it worth to people to plug into the energetics of someone that's vibrating at an 8-figure frequency? What is the value of that? What is the expansion that happens and what kind of big ideas drop in when you're hanging out with a big thinker, just being in that energy. Then what happens when you get that person's undivided attention on you and your business? And then what happens when that person brings 2 decades plus of real world business experience in developing all kinds of models? How do you place a price on that? I have to know the value of my time. And if someone is feeling like above all else, they want my undivided attention, right? I literally have to stop everything else I'm doing to be solely 100% focused on that person. You're not getting that for $200 an hour. That costs me money, right? So, but this is a progression. This isn't how I always thought. I was used to be in the servitude energy, and how much more can I do for you? And how can I undercharge so that you'll say yes and show up for yourself, right? I really had a model of like, pay me the bare minimum you can, so that I can show up on a call and beg you to show up for yourself and beg you to rise to the occasion, right? And get you out of fixating on problems and focused on possibilities. What else can I do for you? How else can I sacrifice my time or my wisdom or whatever to get you to buy from me so that you can show up for yourself? That's kind of messed up, right? But we can do that because, well, for all the reasons that we do that, that's part of the conditioning of being a broke healer. When you're in an abundant healer mindset and choosing to join that community, we recognize that if we are here to elevate consciousness as healers, we have a duty to elevate our wealth consciousness. It is consciousness. In fact, if you overlook that, or you dismiss it, or you only focus on elevating all other consciousness and completely abdicate or make wrong the building and evolution of your own wealth consciousness and that of others, then you're really not an elevator of consciousness. And I'm not saying that any of you are this way, right? But if we really look at it energetically as a community, if we're standing for consciousness, we're standing for consciousness is the bottom line. Just reading some comments here. Yeah. And, if we're not, sometimes we can join communities and there's a harmonic, there can be a harmonic misalignment. There can be someone that's offering something, of course. And, yeah, I'm just going to be super blunt, actually. There's a lot of people that have been in business for a year or two. The hey girl, hey cliquey coaching part of the transformational space that seem to think that building a business on Facebook with no website and no emails and stuff is a sustainable business model. It's not. It's literally a tactic. It's a tool. Facebook is a tool. But anyways, a lot of those folks started off being, a healer or health coach or whatever, and they had a kind of a fluke of a 6-figure income or something like that. Again, still haven't actually structured a proper business. And now they're business coaches offering masterminds, and they really have, think about it, they have, what can they offer you? 2 years of hit and miss, spaghetti against the wall. Oopsie, look at me. I had a lucky day. I've had a 100K windfall. Like, what value is that to us? Not saying that's the case for you, Sarah. What I'm saying is there's a lot of people out there like that. And of course it irritates people like me and others who have actually really invested in mastering our craft and learning from other businesses so that we can bring that value to our clients, so that if I have an agency owner in my mastermind, I can actually help them because I've made a point of really learning what works and what doesn't in scaling an agency model or a consulting model or how to license or various things like this. So keep in mind, though, when we step into a mastermind, as an example, that isn't working for us, it's either because we had an intuitive hit that it didn't, but they spoke to our FOMO, they spoke to our ego, they spoke to our quick win mindset of, oh, I can do this quickly. And on the other side of any of my quote unquote business mistakes is the version of me that didn't honor my intuitive hit. I might be irritated at first, but if I'm honest, it's because I didn't listen to my intuition. And or I didn't do my research, which is the case for a lot of people. They're not willing to ask these business coaches, like, what is your history? How long have you been in business? And by the way, I don't give a shit about their results, right? Because there's a lot of coaches out there that will sell their methodology that only works for them. right? They'll sell things like, come and learn my client attraction method, and they use it on people to pull them into a program to teach them about the very thing that they just did to them in a LinkedIn private message kind of thing, right? But they don't actually know how to help people attract clients in all different streams and different industries, I guess you could say, right? But the point is that we're not willing to ask those questions. We look at their results, but we don't ask, well, what results are you getting your clients? Right? And how often are you getting those results? Because that's going to tell you, right? Additionally, like, here's my business model. What do you see as a possibility for my business model? I'm not asking you to coach me for free, but what would be your approach with a business like mine, or a person like mine, or whatever the case is? And then we have to take personal responsibility for the vibrational match that we have with that coach, right? So how does it serve us to call in a coach that can't help us get results? What does that allow us to keep experiencing? And what's the safety in continuing to experience that? If we say we want to grow, but we actually don't, if we're afraid of growth, if we don't feel safe and supported, we'll attract someone that can't help us grow. And or we won't lean into that program because we don't want to grow, or because we're in the program for the wrong reasons. We're looking for a clique. We're looking for a group of friends. Again, not saying you are doing this. I just see it all the time, right? We do a lot of projecting onto coaches. We're either looking for a surrogate boss to tell us what to do. And I watch for that, right? I have zero interest in being someone's boss. If I have to lead someone's company, then my first act of being the new CEO of the company is to fire that person, right? Because they're not doing their job, either because they're not capable or they're not willing. And I don't want either of those people in my company, right? If you imagine I was running my own company, and I know that sounds harsh, but like that's just the reality of business, right? I'm not interested in being someone's mom, and I get a lot of that too. People will actually talk in a baby voice to me when they're 50 plus years old because they're looking for a mom. They're not actually looking for a coach, and they want to be coddled and spoon-fed and have someone collude with them about, yeah, you're right, you can't grow for all these reasons. It's not a role I'm willing to play. I have people that try to make me their sister or their bestie. Well, if you have to pay for a bestie, that in and of itself is a healing opportunity, right? Nobody should have to pay to have people hang out with them. So either of these scenarios, right? These are all projections. If people don't clean up their own side of the fence and get clear on, why am I hiring this coach? Why am I joining this mastermind? They are going to be disappointed. And that coach cannot manage those expectations because they're never told in the first place that, hey, I know I hired you for business coaching, but I actually want you to be my mom or my sister or my bestie or my boss or whatever, right? So again, tough love moment. I'm not, again, saying this is for you, Sarah, just speaking in general to people. That's the kind of mindset, by the way, that keeps people stuck. That's the kind of mindset that will absolutely prevent growth, because someone like me is going to fire a client like that so quickly. I don't need to spend my time on that. I'm not here to convince. People should already be sold on me. I've got a ton of interviews out there for people to get a sense of my vibe. I've got a ton of testimonials. I've done a lot of major media. I have the client success stories to show for it, my own growth, etc. I do zero convincing. I do zero sales calls, because if you're knocking on my door and you haven't done your research, you're not someone I want to coach, because any savvy CEO is resourceful. They know how to source their own information. They know how to move beyond, I don't know how to do this. They lean into the energy of, I will figure this out. I will do my homework. I will do whatever, right? A technician will not do that. A CEO will do that. And I work with CEOs. So it's also about deciding who are you going to work with and knowing what your boundaries and standards are. All right, I got a little bit sidetracked, but apparently someone needed to hear that today. So there you go. All right, so the second point, as I mentioned, so the first point, as I mentioned, is shifting from technician to CEO, making everything impersonal. It's all just information that allows you to make decisions as the savvy CEO that you are. The second is to release allegiance that you may have consciously or unconsciously to any broke communities that that kind of started your career, so to speak, if that's relevant. It may not be relevant, but we have to look for, where do we have allegiance to even our family? If they bond over poverty consciousness, We don't obviously want to find a new family. They're our family. Well, maybe we do if they're really crappy, but we definitely need to create a new sort of community that actually celebrates us being abundant. The third massive money paradigm shift that you need to have is shifting from creating money because you can, just simply because you can, not because you need to or you have to. When I bought the podcast connector, again, keep in mind, I'm super protective of my time. I knew in my bones, it was such a vibrational pull, I guess you could say, that I needed to do that. And I did it quickly, as I mentioned. My only tiny niggly was, will I actually have the time for this? Right? Because I didn't need to buy it. I wasn't buying it because I needed to. I was buying it because I could. I bought it because I desired to have that experience. So money flows to our desires. Money can keep being created when it's fun and it's in creation energy. It's an extension of the infinite creative life force. It wants to create. It is its own energy, and it's also a tool for creation. It contributes to our creations. When I instantly go into the energy of I need more money, that's lack. That means I'm contracted. You know how much harder it is to make money in contraction, because all the energy goes back. It gets all closed up and contorted and stifled, right? When I have to, and we see this all the time, I'm only going to make sales when I have to. I'm going to market. Oh, look, I've got a full program now. I don't have to market for the rest of the year. And this whole energy of I'm going to do the bare minimum and barely show up for my business and barely show up for my community because I want to do the bare minimum, but have an 8-figure company, right? That doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't mean that we have to work hard, but we do need to put in aligned effort. I actually don't even put in a lot of effort into my companies anymore, but whatever effort I do put in, I'm super mindful, again, because of my time and knowing the value of it, that anything I do put my effort into packs the biggest punch, so to speak. I'm super efficient with that. So, but I allow myself to create money because I can. This is why, as a woo-woo, healy-feely, fully awake and aware to the global agenda individual who's well aware of what's going on this planet and well aware of what goes on beyond this planet and has been channeling for years, right? There's a certain expectation of me in the healer community. So I went and did the very 3D stuff, right? I went and learned. I went and took a class on day trading, and I was a hardcore day trader when I could fit it in for a few years. And I still do that a little bit, but it's not really my thing. I learned how to invest in the stock market. I learned how to take company assets, right, and invest in the stock market and build actual tangible assets in the company. I have, I own a lot of private equity in a lot of different companies. I'm a board advisor on a lot of companies and get paid in shares. I have a lot of physical gold and silver. I have crypto. I have different collectibles that appreciate in value. There's all kinds of things I went and did, and real estate investments and so on, being a hard lender. I went and did all this like very sort of like 3-dimensional stuff because I wanted to explore money. I really wanted to understand the energy of money so I could keep pouring back into all of you of what I'm learning about money. And regardless of doing all of those things, what I know for sure is money's a pretty cool dude. Like, it just wants to have fun. It just wants to be a contribution to us. It has no expectation. It wants to be appreciated and acknowledged, right? It can't say hello if we're walking by it and not saying hello to it. But it only wants to be at the boardroom table of our dream team, right? When we're having a dream team meeting and saying, how can I contribute? How can I speed up and accelerate the actualization of these dreams? It's not judging me or you. It's not in an energy of, I did this for you, so what are you going to do for me? It has none of those human projections that we place onto it. But I went and learned how to create money just because I could, because I needed to unhook all of my projections and all of my unconscious expectations and all of my unconscious traumas that were directly and indirectly related to money, or really any traumas and triggers and healing opportunities, right? So that I could truly come to a place, which I honestly believe I'm in now. Of course, there's a little bit of massaging always that you don't know is there, but I'm pretty neutral around money, and I let money serve me. And I keep asking for it to show up. I say hello to it and I do all these things. but that's because I don't need it and I don't have to, and I don't wait until I have to create it. I'm just always creating it in a way that I can dance with it. And I think most of you know we don't focus on income goals at all in Soul Journeys, at all. We don't ever have team meetings about money. We never start the year saying, how much are we going to make in 2022, for example? How much are we going to make this month? What have we made this month? Zero, and I mean zero focus on money. We have money conversations in that, hey, this subscription really is wasting our money. We're not using it. Should we cancel it? We'll acknowledge money for sure. And we acknowledge when there's big wins. In fact, when my clients have big wins, I'm surprising them with gifts and sending them to the spa and things like that. So it's not that we don't have conversations about money, but we're not at all focused on making money or how much money we're making in the company, because we don't have to. I don't need to. I don't have to. It's nice to be in this place, by the way, because that wasn't always the case, of course. But we literally just focus on what can we create for fun. So anything we're creating now in the company, like our Oracle deck that will be coming out this year and our product line and various things like that, that's all just fun. That's stuff I want to create for you because it's fun, right? And I love that stuff anyways, but it's not a big money maker, right? But I get to do it because I have the space and the freedom and money supporting me to do that. I don't have to do that. I don't need to do that. And I don't ever run my business from a place of, I guess I'll show up. I guess I'll show up because I need money. And this is why it feels aligned or misaligned for most people, because they actually want to show up all the time, but they're making it personal. You see how all these three are tied together, right? As soon as you become the CEO, it's not personal. Then you can focus on the financial health of the company and not make any of it personal. Literally just make it about, how can we surprise and delight our clients? What can we create for them that they can invest in that will help them with A, B, and C? And what can we create just because it's fun and we want to be a contribution to our community? How can we make sure that the company is still financially healthy and has reserves to reinvest it in itself, to hire people, to do whatever it needs to do for the consciousness of the business, because the consciousness wants to grow as well, right? So there needs to be funds available to grow that. And then again, as I mentioned, any identity that you have, where you identify as the broke healer, the starving artist, the, overworked, undercharging body worker, like whatever your sort of story of origin is in your company, does it still make sense for you to align to that, especially if you want to make more money? And then what would it feel like if you were making offers on social media today, for example, from a place of either answering a prayer or making an offer just because it's fun and it would be fun for you to do that with someone, or to run a program with someone, or to have someone enjoy your digital product or whatever it is. All right, that was way longer than I expected. I like these to be bite-sized because I know our attention spans are a little bit different. But anyways, that was my TED Talk, I guess, about money paradigm shifts that are going to really help you double your income. And they really will. Hopefully you can see that. So I would love to hear from you in the comments what's lighting up for you, maybe even what's triggering you. I'm okay if you're triggered, not, of course, because it's my intention, but because that triggers a gift, right? That means something has shifted because the trigger got activated. That means the pot of gold is on the other side of that trigger. So the speed in which we lean into that will help us. And then, although it's not directly related, what I will say, because I'm all about elevating consciousness, right? We have an upcoming webinar called the Universal Laws of Ascension. So this year I've done the Universal Laws of Client Attraction as a webinar. And then we did the Universal Laws of Prosperity. And I wrote a book, by the way, on the Universal Laws. This is why I'm a big fan of Universal Laws. So coming up in a few weeks, we are going to be talking about the Universal Laws of Ascension. I think that's particularly important because even the ways that we're running business right now is really more from an energetic ascended place as opposed to a 3D place, right? So we're really operating more from our archetypes, which is 4D, and really moving us towards this 5D reality. So there's certain energies that are in place that need to elevate all consciousness, including the consciousness of our business and our money. So I genuinely feel that would be of service to you. I'm going to plunk that in the link for you. And then if you are a six-figure earner, you're ready to scale to seven figures, I have to have the bandwidth to do this. I have created this now. So if you're ready to either leap into multi six figures or seven figures, this year and you're done with any allegiance you may have to any sort of poverty consciousness, you're really ready to be the CEO of your company, you're really ready to allow money to serve you and allow that to be fun, then I have a few different ways that I can support you this year that are going to really, really help you get there quickly. I'm very results driven. So if that speaks to you, then just send me a private message and let me know you'd like to chat about that. And we can have a little private back and forth about what that looks like. I can learn more about what's going on in your business, what your business model is, what's working for you, what's not working for you, and then basically give you a quote unquote prescription, right, of what I think would really serve you. And then we can chat about how I might be a part of that. And if it's not me, I have a great Rolodex of amazing, amazing authorities in various aspects of business that I'm happy to refer you to if I'm not the best person to help you. So anyways, private message me if that applies to you. I hope to see you in the webinar. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if and what your takeaways are from today. Be sure to share it with anyone you think would benefit, and I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.